there's like these little steaks that are perfect for the kids, but
we just don't want to be a part of that. We would rather have a deposit in with our local farm, and the rest of the year we're stocked.
hello everyone. Today is the day. Today is beef day. I wanted to share the process with you just in case it seems a little bit intimidating. This is our third time doing it, and I am actually going alone this time. So if you are intimidated, I will show you that you can do it even alone. My husband had a procedure done this morning, and he's down for the count. And the way that our pickup works is they notify you that your beef is ready, and then you have 7 business days to report to the butcher. And just the way that our week has been, this is the only day that we can seem to make it work, and it's still not even that ideal of a day, but we're still going to get it done. In my back here, so I've got the seats folded down to accommodate. It's, I think, like 350 maybe. I have to look up the exact numbers. I'll post them in the video. I only know what the hanging weight was. I don't quite know yet exactly how much beef I'm bringing home. They recommend a lot of coolers, you need a lot of cooler space, but what we prefer to do, since the butcher is only about 26 minutes from us now, we prefer smaller bags. This is also because I can't haul a huge cooler of beef into the house by myself. Nor can I get it into the car. I would have to, walk from the loading dock to the car over and over with a few items of beef, to load my cooler. So this works better for us. Do what works for you. I saw one mom pull up once in her truck with a huge cooler, and she had a few sons with her, and they shuttled the beef, up into the cooler for her, and that worked great. So obviously just assess your own situation and do what's going to work for you. So, let's get on the road. Okay, so we checked in with the office. They usually give us a cut sheet, like an inventory list. And when I pack up my beef, I will cross-check it to make sure you get everything, and make sure you raise concerns at your butcher, not after you've left. But we're just at the loading dock waiting for them to bring it all out. Usually it comes out on rolling carts, and then you pack it up yourself, and then you're on your way. They're not out yet, so I have a chance to show you this a little bit more. But anyway, you can see the quantities there. We are getting 25 packs of beef patties. Super excited about that. 41 packs of ground beef. 5 London broils down here. We love the shaved beef. 9 packs of that. That's like a luxury. So anyway, lots of exciting stuff going in the freezer today. Okay, we are all loaded up. Everything checked out. Everything is there on the inventory sheet. And honestly, I think we all know our personality types, right? I am not the type of person who can keep track of counting everything and checking everything off. I just try to, I do try to lay eyes on the most expensive cuts. And I do count our ground beef and our patties because we really, really care about those. And then I just kind of check in on a couple different things, the porterhouses I usually keep an eye on, but then there's a bunch of little steaks, and I don't really bother counting those. You'll see what I mean when I get it home. There's these little steaks that are perfect for the kids, but it's just throw them in the bag, So everything is squared away. I'm super excited to get it home. We got rib steaks this time instead of prime rib, because if you've watched our last cooking videos, you can see that we just don't really enjoy prime rib that much. I think I've gotten better at cooking it, but we love steak way more. So we've got some rib steaks, and it just felt like so much steak going in the bag. So, okay, let's go home. So one thing I definitely forgot to mention is, whatever the season is, you should bring some gloves. I mean, you can do it without gloves. I did. I have every single time, and every single time I wish I brought gloves, because you're just picking up pack after pack after pack of frozen beef. So just a suggestion. And then also, we really like to get our stuff in the colder months just because it sort of puts a pause button on the time that you have to rush this stuff home, you know? Because, I mean, this isn't closed or anything like that, and it's still pretty frozen because it's chilly out today, but, you know, I think I'd be a lot more stressed if it were 90 degrees in the summer. For some reason, all of the audio on this part of the video ended up sounding like I was underwater, so I'm going to load this freezer and show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to chit chat with you the next day. Okay, here's the finished product. I was able to leave that shelf, which is awesome. I was hoping that that would work out. I definitely recommend something like this to make your storage space better. This is our first time working with a big upright like this, and this allowed me to get so much in here. This is all of our ground beef and all of our patties. Here is our steak shelf. This needs a little bit more organization. We were buying some things the other day for this type of thing, but I didn't want to buy too many baskets before I knew exactly what I needed. This is sort of like with like all my flat irons are right here. These are my little baby steaks. And these are the really little ones. These are the ones my kids love. I think, so when our 4-year-old finally started eating steak, praise the Lord for that, he started getting very he really wanted his own steak, you know? He'd see us cut a piece off of ours, because we weren't sure he was going to eat it for the longest time, and now he's like, I want my own steak. But of course, we're not going to cook him like a whole porterhouse because he's not going to eat that, right? So these have been perfect. Our 3-year-old joins in on those too. These are just other bigger steaks. I have tri-tips. What is it called? The tri-tip steak? The sirloin tip steak, not the tri-tips, sorry. Sirloin tip steaks. I have those kind of shoved everywhere because there were a lot of them, and see, there's some here and there's some here. But part of the problem right now is I still have a ton of not a ton, but I still have some pork fat that I need to render down, and this will get out of here, and then this can honestly move out to the pork freezer now that that's cleared out. And then I'm hoping that this will still be a fish shelf, and then here we have like other hot dogs and sausages and whatnot. So here are all of those rib steaks. This would have been our prime rib, but we cut it up. Stew meat is down here. London broil is here. I'm hoping that some of this can get worked in a little bit better once that shelf is clear. Down here I have all of the fat and bones, and then also the 2 briskets. And then here is our shaved beef. That won't last long. We eat that really fast in the summer. All of the chuck roasts, more of the tip steaks, and I think there's like an eye round roast in there. And my tri-tip is in here somewhere. I don't know where he ended up going. Anyway, really love shopping like this. It is such a blessing. And then we only have to do it once a year. I haven't bought beef in the grocery store in years now. It kind of freaks me out a little bit just because you don't know how many cows that's coming from for one pack of ground beef. You know, it's all mixed up. You don't know really what has happened to it. This farm, we know their practices. We like them. We like the butcher that they go to. It's all very fresh. It's just one cow. It's great.
All right, so I lost a lot of my audio, and I wanted to include some of these details. So I went back and did the math, and the hanging weight was 343 pounds, but our take-home weight was only 213 pounds. So for us, we paid about $4.75 a pound for hanging weight. And when you do the math, that comes out to about $8 or so a pound for what we brought home. Now, some of that is also tallow. I think will be tallow. So we had about $26 worth, or 26 pounds worth of fat that will get rendered down, and will alleviate some of our cooking fat budget, you know? So all that to be said, I just want to be transparent, because depending on what part of the country you are in, you can save a lot of money buying bulk beef like this. But also sometimes it is still sort of a luxury. We live in Northern Virginia, so we are pretty close to DC, I guess. And that makes us kind of an affluent area. So even when you drive out into the country here, the customer base is still like Northern Virginia, you know. However, you also have to compare the farming practices. I know some friends in the Midwest who maybe pay about $3 a pound for hanging weight. but it's more of a traditional feedlot, so they're not necessarily getting pasture raised beef. So these are all considerations that play into the price: your geographical area, how the meat is raised, what your goals are, what you want to stock in your pantry, what you can afford, and how that all balances out. It's not my job to convince you to buy like that. I just want to put all of this out here in case you're interested, and you can consider what's available to you. For our family, when I consider whether or not this is a good deal, I have to consider what's available in the grocery store and what our health goals are. So I've mentioned before that I have autoimmune conditions. I was diagnosed several years ago with lupus and Hashimoto's and Sjogren's, and all of that is in remission now, and it's completely thanks to what I eat. I'm not on any medications and didn't have any medications to bring it under control. When it comes to shopping for beef, I prefer pasture raised because it is higher in omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. That really matters for inflammation, and I've noticed that makes a difference for me. If I just eat a bunch of store-bought beef, my body will start reacting eventually. So we do prefer the pasture-raised, and most stores will carry a pasture-raised ground beef product for roughly the same price as what we paid here. However, they either don't carry other cuts of beef or we cannot afford the other cuts of beef. So that $8 a pound, that counts for, all of our steaks, the tri-tip, the shaved beef, all of that falls under that, and it, cuts the cost there. Kind of just depends how you frame it. Our family also really values removing the middleman for a couple of reasons. One of those is just security in general. We usually have a deposit into our into our local farm for another half cow, months in advance, and then for the rest of the year we have a stocked freezer. So with all of the issues with some of the slaughterhouses or meat manufacturers, however you want to call it, it's really nice to know that we are removed from the potential instability with one of those major producers shutting down. If you read about how meat is produced, it's really a monopoly, and there's only a handful of factories in the country that can do it. And when one of those gets shut down, it can significantly impact the food system. So we just don't want to be a part of that. We would rather have a deposit in with our local farm, and the rest of the year we're stocked. So that's a great peace of mind for us. But also, we just think it's valuable to buy local when we can afford to. I don't want to sound holier than thou. We currently are really, really struggling to afford local chicken, and we are, cutting corners there. But we can't afford this beef. I think community resiliency is very understated. There's a huge homesteading movement, do as much for yourself as you can, produce as much as you can. But I do think that we also need to be building in community resiliency, and this is one of the ways that we can do that, by supporting a local farm that does something really well that we need. The other bit of audio that I unfortunately lost was talking about the benefits of buying half versus a whole beef. Now, we do only buy a half. It's a lot of money to buy a whole. I'm not so much worried about our family being able to use it because it will keep in a deep freezer for quite a long time, and we would eventually go through a half beef, but we just don't have the income right now to step up to that size. However, I would like to eventually, simply because you get way more customization options. Now, I can only speak to what our local farm does. Your local farm might be a lot different. They might, offer different packages and whatnot. But for our farm, for instance, take the prime rib cut. If I wanted rib steaks and some prime rib, that's not an option with the half beef. You have to pick one or the other. And if you step up to a whole, then you can potentially do, hi kitty. If you step up to a whole, then you could potentially do some prime rib roasts and then some rib steaks. Same for something like the osso buco, I think it's the leg bone. They're like little circles, and there's a bone in the middle and then some meat around the edges. We like to use those for soup broth. But last time we had a really hard time getting through them in time. Not in time, but just like it was a harder thing to use. And so we decided to put that into ground beef this time because we ran out of our ground beef quickly. That being said, now I'm kind of like, well, what am I going to make my broth out of? So it's a give and a take. And if I had the whole, then we could just have some of each, and that would be really, really nice. But I am grateful for what we have right now. Obviously, this is a huge blessing. So I just want to put that out there that if you have the means to get a whole, it might be worth considering just because you can really diversify your cuts a bit more. Okay, back to real-time video.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was informative. If I didn't address anything and you still have a question, leave it below and I will try to answer it, or maybe somebody else who's watching who has done this before will be able to answer it. Up next, I'm going to have a meal video that I've been working on filming over the past week, and then I'm also planning to test hamburger buns again. We have a good recipe, but we have fresh burgers, so like this is the perfect season for updating our recipe, making sure we're making the best thing that we can be making. So I have some things I want to try, and then I also have like a gluten-free dessert video I want to do just for the purposes of being able to take something to an occasion where we do have gluten-free friends. And I think that's all I have to say for now. So I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday with a meal video, Lord willing. All right, bye-bye.